Hi, everybody, and welcome to part 4 of our Thriving in Relationships series. It's so exciting to be here. Tonight is a very special night. It's Chaf Menachem Av. It's the yahrzeit of Reb Levi Yitzchak, the father of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who was imprisoned in Soviet Russia for the crime of perpetuating authentic Yiddishkeit. I just want to share one little story about him. He was a Rav in Yekaterinoslav, and he was asked by the government, when the government monopolized, took over all the businesses, the government asked him, they wanted the Jewish people, the Jewish community, to buy the flour, to buy the matzah for Pesach from the government produced matzah. And of course, as they did in the past from that same company that now belonged to the government. And they asked Reb Levi Yitzchak to rubber stamp the hechsher that it was kosher, but he said he can only do it if he checks it and makes sure that it actually is kosher. And somehow the way that the flour was transported, it was not done in a way that could ensure that no water would get to the flour, and he refused to give a hechsher on that flour. And that's like the government totally expected him to rubber stamp his hechsher and don't make any, don't make any funny business with us. Just sign your name on the dotted line. We'll give you the money. Everyone will be happy. Don't rock the boat. Don't ruffle any feathers. And Reb Levi Yitzchak's commitment to Hashem was bigger than anything that I think that we could imagine, because it was definitely bigger than his fear of his life being in danger. And of course, he refused, and eventually, and there were many such stories, and eventually he was sent to exile, and he passed away in exile, far away from the community who he loved and who people who cared about him. And tonight is his yahrzeit. It's a very big schus on the yahrzeit of a tzaddik. The tzaddik has an aliyah. And all people who are connected also have an aliyah. So tonight, I just want to say l'chaim, that everybody here should get whatever we need out of the series in general, and out of all the work that we are doing to connect to Hashem, to really live with Hashem's presence in our lives, to strengthen our bitachon, and to experience the goodness of Tamu Ru'uki Tov Hashem. Taste and you will see that Hashem is good. Everyone should be zeicha to see it with revealed brachas, and most importantly, we should have Mashiach revealed. That's the ultimate goodness. Tonight's topic is really going to be a finale, even though we can go on for another 20 weeks and never be done. The questions that have been coming in were really, really phenomenal. The questions that have been coming in were like so deep, so many fantastic questions, and that made me think. And I want to thank every single person. I know that we didn't get to all the questions, but I hope that over time, the ones that were asked in the beginning, over time, I hope that they were answered. And if not, we're not, our relationship is not over when this workshop series is over. Me'er Hashem, we'll be back for more throughout Tishrei and certainly after Tishrei, Be'ezras Hashem. So tonight's topic is getting out of stuck, creating real change. Okay, our Yetzer Hara is an internal force that distracts us or deludes us into engaging in our lives as if Hashem and our neshama are irrelevant, chas v'shalom. So many people ask the question, okay, it's all very nice that I'm learning, all very nice that I'm doing this work. How do I actually move my relationship forward? How do I actually move myself forward? Where do I begin to change? My life is I'm so busy. There's no time. There's so much going on. Where do I even begin to change? So tonight I want to talk about what gets in our way of actually creating real change in our lives, because by now everybody has at least some tools. And what gets in our way of creating real change in our lives? I want to begin with reading a note that somebody shared. It was a question, but it's so beautifully written. So somebody was writing, a young woman is writing about her relationship with her father. And she writes, how do I deal with a father who cannot seem to tune into anyone else's experiences? For example, he asks for things to be done in a very authoritative way, without taking into account that maybe it won't work so well for the other person. He just expects the other person to do exactly what he wants when he wants. Or he can talk a lot about himself and not do a whole lot of listening and asking about what's going on for someone else, for the other person. He also gets angry when he gets angry, he's incapable of giving space for anyone else's experiences. And if that's not enough, she didn't write if that's not enough, I'm saying that. He gets into a space where no one and nothing else exists. It's just him and what he wants to do and what he likes. I know that every person can only, here's where this question is so beautiful. I know that every person can only be in charge of themselves. I know we cannot change other people. That being said, it's very difficult to be around this person. What tools can I use to instill to still shine my best self in situations like this? So here's what I want to just take a moment. You know, this person is describing such a very, that anybody objectively would say, this is a very difficult situation. And a lot of times the questions that come my way, it's like, okay, you talk about this, and they'll give me an example of, okay, but Bela's husband wasn't actually being obnoxious. He was just being careless. What about when you're being obnoxious? What about when someone is being obnoxious? And the way the question is asked, it's as if the underlying undertone is, this whole set of tools does not work for me. It's very nice for other people. It's very nice for people who, you know, maybe their husband didn't buy them flowers for Shabbos, or their daughter spilled a cup of water in the wrong place and they're very frustrated. It's not working for me because I have a real challenge. And here we have a person with a very real challenge. And her bottom line of this challenge is, what tools? What tools can I use? I want to shine my best self. I want to be using these tools, but what more can I do? What are the tools that I can use to shine my best self? And the reason why this is so beautiful is because in most situations, and if we be honest, I'm sure you can relate to this. In most situations, the way we think is dead end kind of thinking. If this is how my life is, if this is how the other person is, if this is my situation, my reality, my challenge, I have no choice but to be miserable in this relationship. It's not going to go anywhere. It's never going to get better. No matter what I do, I already tried for so many years. But here it's more like this, and that's what I call dead end thinking, because on a dead end, there's nowhere to go. You could only marinate in the misery that sucks the life out of you and everyone else around you. Dead end kind of thinking is so Yetzer Hara-dic. And that's what I want to talk about. I feel like we spent a lot of time talking about what we can do, but we ignored a very, very big part of what gets in our way of being able to do anything, even being part of tonight. Any little thing, like the main obstacle that gets in our way is something called Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is a massive brain twister. It's not just a little thing that we talk to our kids about in kindergarten. It's a real force, a real formidable force of distraction and delusion. We talked about this a little bit last week, but it's real. So if I feel like I am at a dead end, then that means, it doesn't really actually mean I'm at a dead end. It means I actually feel like I'm at a dead end. Between feeling like I'm at a dead end and being at a dead end is two totally different things. In our lives, Hashem, there's never, ever, ever any such thing as a dead end. Hashem always creates opportunities for us to move forward, to fulfill our life's purpose. There's no such thing as a dead end, as a place, as a point where we come to where we say, I will be miserable for the rest of my life. I will never be able to find love, connection, and joy. It's not a possible reality. Now, sometimes we need to, someone says, well, if this person is this, sometimes we need to change other rules. Sometimes we need to change expectations. Sometimes we need to let go of a certain dream and mourn that dream and allow ourselves to process the pain of that dream. And then we can open our hearts to another dream. And I'm not talking about ending relationships. I'm talking about making peace, accepting reality as it is, and not fighting it, and opening ourselves up to new possibilities in creative ways, in ways that don't limit us anymore. But let me answer this person's question, okay? The bottom line, what the Yetzer Hara comes to us and says, therefore you are stuck. Therefore you are stuck. And the emotion of that is helplessness, self-pity, feeling very sorry for ourselves. Like, I can't do this. I really want to be happy. How could I be happy when somebody is in my life? In this case, it's a father, but everybody else has someone every one of us has someone in their lives that's so self-centered that I just don't have space to breathe. I don't have space to be a person in this relationship because they're so self-centered. I want to just make a disclaimer and say that I don't want anybody to use anything that we are saying here to perpetuate a relationship that is truly abusive and debilitating. Okay, and that's something that you need to explore on your own privately. You can reach out to me. I'm more than happy to discuss personal, exceptions. I'm talking about everybody else, and for the most part, most relationships where there's some way where we could find a way forward, a way to experience love and connection and goodness. But what's going to get in our way is the Yetzer Hara, and the Yetzer Hara is going to get dressed up as self-pity, disempowerment, and helplessness. Let's look at, if you don't have the notes, reach out and we'll send them to you. Okay. What happens is that's in relationships. What about in myself? Even in myself, I always scream at my kids. I always get upset when certain things happen. I never do that. And that person, I always just say what I think without slowing down. What's gonna change if I don't change, right? How are these tools helping me? It's not helping me because the words come out of my mouth before I even had a chance to process that there is a tool. So we feel stuck in patterns of behavior. Why? Because we buy into the Yetzer Hara's confused version of reality. And the biggest delusion, the one that keeps us stuck in unhealthy patterns, is self-pity. And self-pity goes like this. It says, I am small. What am I, right? Who am I and what am I worth? I am just a little cog in the wheels of this relationship, right? This person is so big. I am so small. This situation is so complex. I am just one little person. I am helpless and I am stuck. That's the Yetzer Hara's version. That's dead end thinking. That kind of thinking literally sucks the joy of life out of us. By contrast, the truth is, I am huge. Well, not my size. I am huge, meaning I'm strong. I have a tremendous kayach in this relationship. I am the most central force in every relationship in my life and in every situation in my life. I am the most central force. I am empowered to choose and I'm never stuck. Now, people a lot of times say, why is that not arrogant? What do you mean you're huge? What do you mean you're the central force in every relationship in your life? It sounds so obnoxious. It sounds so rude. It sounds so like, who it sounds so arrogant, right? The reason it's not arrogant is because what makes us huge, what makes us strong, what makes us the central force in our lives is exactly what also makes us humble. Think about it for a second, right? When we're aware of Hashem's kayach within us, when we're aware of Hashem's empowerment within us, we're plugged into that infinite flow of Hashem's light. And that's what we're grounded upon. That's what we stand upon. And we experience that energy and that empowerment. And we know we're empowered to choose and we're good. We come to every situation pre-certified, unconditionally dignified, respectable, no matter what else is going to happen from here. We're already good, right? If we come to that place, then it's not arrogant, it's humble because we respect, because that's not us, it's Hashem's. It belongs to Hashem, it is Hashem, and it's flowing through us by Hashem's blessing. And so every other person has the same goodness. We're level with other people. I'm not better than you. You're not better than me, right? We're both beautiful. We're both awesome. We're both majestic. We're all good. By contrast, I am small means I am powered by myself. I'm with myself. I'm for myself. I have to take care of myself. I have to protect myself. I am never enough because I never have enough. And that's not humble. That is the Yetzer Hara dressed up like a lie of humility. And it's the biggest arrogance, because arrogance is a lie. Arrogance is when we think we are someone that we're actually not. Right? We're nothing but Hashem's empowerment of us. Who are you? You know, somebody was once complaining to a very big chassid. His name was Reb Mendel Futterfass, and they were saying, I think this and I think that, and I feel like finally he like interrupted me and said, who you? who are you? Like, who are you? What do you mean, who you? He didn't speak English very well, so it was like, who you? And it's a joke in our family, like, who you? Like, in other words, from the perspective of like, you know, when we feel small, we're arrogant because, and that's why when we feel small, we're arrogant because we are deciding that we are going to define our identity. Hashem has one idea of who we are, but I have a better idea. Hashem says, "Ahavti eschem amar Hashem, I love you. You're good. You're my daughter. You're a reflection and you're a carrier of my life." I say, "Sorry, Hashem. You know what? I have a better idea of who I am. I'm really nothing. I'm not so important." Tell me, does it get more arrogant than that? It doesn't. It really doesn't. But the Yetzer Hara wants us to stay with it. So the Yetzer Hara says, no, this is real humility when you think you're nothing, when you think you're small, when you think you're little compared to other people. And of course, it's a very big lie, because that is the beginning of all, of all disasters. We said this last week and it bears repeating. When somebody was very afraid, a little girl was afraid during the Holocaust at night. Her older sister said, she said, "Havnish kein Meira, don't be afraid. Hashem is bigger than the night and stronger than your Meira, stronger than your fear." And we talked about this last week, that our neshama is bigger than our weaknesses and stronger than any insecurity we might have. So the first thing I would love for everyone to do tonight is to look out and start noticing. Last week when we talked about shame, a lot of people said, but I don't have any shame. But then when we gave it more language, when we said, when you feel inadequate, when you feel intimidated, when you feel so anxious in a social situation, when you're afraid of speaking up, all that is shame. So what does self-pity look like? It's important to know what it looks like, because when you see it, you could say, hello, Yetzer Hara, welcome. And I am going to now defy you. Okay, my hand is on my hips. I'm not going to listen to you, Yetzer Hara. But in order for us to be able to say that, to defy our Yetzer Hara, to negate it, to not surrender to it, we need to be able to pull off its mask and expose it for the lie that it is, for the self-pity, for the arrogance, for the distraction and the delusion that it is. We need to be able to recognize it in order to pull off its mask. So here are just some expressions of self-pity, okay? One is how it expresses itself in time. The Yetzer Hara says, if this is how I was, if this is how it's been, who am I to create change, right? Who am I? My relationship has been horrible for so many years. This is a pattern, right? When I say this, my husband says that. When I do this, my parent says that. My child does that. I am never going to have a loving relationship. This is how it was. Who am I to create change? That's the Yetzer Hara. Because from the Yetzer Hara perspective, time is our master. The truth is, a Yid is the master of time. Nothing can dominate us. Nothing can get in the way of our power of choice. Our power of choice is unstoppable. It's given to us by Hashem, and it's nobody can take it away from us, because Hashem is the one who gives it to us, and nobody can take it away from Hashem. So the world says, or our Yetzer Hara says, time is our master. But the truth is, we are the masters of time. And because of this, even though, yes, the power of a time-honored habit is very, very strong. If you have a habit and it's been honored for very, very long, action breeds connection, and it breeds strength. So now I've been acting on this habit for a very long time, but you know what? Hashem and his empowerment of us is stronger. And this minute, I have the ability to make one little change. And in that change is my freedom. In that change is the way I defy the Yetzer Hara and be liberated from the stuckness that has been the story of my life until this very, very moment. So that was one thing. Time, emotions. Very many times emotions feel like there are prisons. We say, if this is how I feel, this is how it is. I'm only human, right? So how could this be any different? In the story that I just shared before, in the example that I just shared before, where a young woman is dealing with a parent who honestly sounds very selfish, very self-centered, and very emotionally limited. You know, if she would only be looking at it from the perspective of this is how I feel, so this is how it is, she would never even ask this question. She would never say, okay, so where do I go from here? What do I do? It would just be, I feel small, I feel insecure, I just need to leave this relationship because that's the only way I could survive. Because that's what her emotions are telling her. And you know, if I used to think if I want to eat cake, then I must eat cake. If I want to scream, I will probably scream because this is how I feel. This is what I'm going to do. And in American culture, if you don't act on your feelings, you're not being honest to yourself. But right, and emotions from the world, from the perspective of our experience, emotions really define our reality. If you think about what kind of day you had, it's not about what you did, it's how you felt. So emotions really define our reality, right? If this is how I feel, this is how it is. But the truth is, only truth defines our reality. Only Hashem defines our reality. This is how I feel, and in the context of who I. So now, where do I want to go with this? Right? Yeah, I want to be honest with myself and know my emotions, but I'm not compelled to act on my emotions. I'm not being untrue to myself by defying my emotions, because my bigger goal is to be true to my deeper self, and my deeper self might have perspective that can change the whole story, and maybe I won't even feel this way. Because let's remember, in any given moment, we are engaging in our lives from the place of our awesomeness, from the place of our shame, from the place of our true self or our invented self, or from our neshama or our ego, right? We're in any given moment of time, and this happens automatically and without our consciously choosing it. So from the perspective of my ego, or from the perspective of my invented self, I will really feel small and I will really feel bad, and it's going to be real. It's going to feel like we talked about last week, like when Avram Avinu had to go to the Akedah and there was an ocean. The ocean was the Satan was dressed up as an ocean. The Satan wasn't dressed up in a Purim costume that looked like a costume, you know, trying to be an ocean. No, it was a real ocean. Avram Avinu got wet. He felt maybe like the water only dissipated when it reached his nostrils. He got soaking wet. He had to plug his way through that ocean. It felt very, very real. Our emotions will make us wet. Our emotions will feel real. And that doesn't mean, and it is real. It is real, but that doesn't mean we have to act on it. It doesn't mean we're compelled to act on it. And that is a huge, huge, huge. We can pause. We can take a deep breath. We can slow down. We can get back into our true self. We can take the time to dial down that overactive emotion and just calm down. And it doesn't mean we won't, you know, then say something nasty from a place, or not nasty, but say something, you know, it doesn't mean we won't defend ourselves, protect ourselves, or be assertive in any way. It doesn't mean that. It just means that we are committed to engaging in our lives, in our relationships, from our true self, from our dignity, from our neshama, from our awesomeness. And that makes all the difference. So the second way that self-pity comes is, if this is how I feel, this is how it is. What should I do? I can't help it. But the truth is, we have the ability to defy our emotions. And nobody should do this without, you know, just without the process. The process is so important. The process means honor the emotions by recognizing it, by validating it, by noticing it. And then we're going to talk about what to do with it. But first, we need to know that we're never prisoners of our emotions. That's the biggest thing that personally that I learned from the Tanya, is that bittul means that I surrender to nobody but Hashem, not even to my own self, because none of our emotions make us unhealthy. The only thing that makes us unhealthy is our attachment to those emotions. Our emotions itself doesn't make us unhealthy, right? It's our attachment to those emotions that make us unhealthy. It's that sense of being limited, being locked into those emotions and whatever those emotions dictate. So just recognizing that we have a neshama means that not necessarily do I want to act on every emotion. I want to dial it down. I want to get into my place of dignity, and then I will handle the situation from a place of strength. Okay, that was the second. I want to go through one more, situations. And I'm saying all of these examples based on the questions that came in, okay? If this is what happened to me, if I was hurt when I was a kid, if I was abused, if I was, neglected, if I was ignored, if I was thrown out of class, if I was hurt, I am at a disadvantage forever. I cannot fight reality. Let's be realistic. You got to be in the real world. If this is what happened to me, I am at a disadvantage forever. Okay, that's a very standard way of thinking. This is, if these are who my parents were, if this is how much money I have, this is who I'm married to, if this is the kind of house I have, if this is my body, if this is my circumstances and situation, I am at a disadvantage, and you can't help it. I will always be until something changes in my reality, because I can't change my reality. That's what the Yetzer Hara says. Situations and circumstances define you and limit you. But the truth is that only Hashem defines us, and nothing can limit us. The only thing that can limit us is our choice, is our not using our power of choice. Okay, so now let's talk about some tools, and I prepared a little bit less today so that we can get to some more questions. Okay, so I hope. Okay, so three really good well-developed tools, Baruch Hashem, that were tried and true and proven. And if you use these tools in your life, you can really invite so much joy and love and connection and goodness. Number one is the spotlight in our minds. Remember last week we spoke about that we have a spotlight in our minds, and we have the handle on that spotlight, and we can focus on whatever we want to focus on. So the Yetzer Hara, the master of self-pity, the master of distraction and delusion, the force within our own hearts that gets us to feel very sorry for ourselves, helpless, disempowered, and stuck in whatever we're facing, whatever we're dealing with, grabs hold of that spotlight and puts that spotlight on other people. Remember, we said in the beginning we had two big ideas. Number one was power, and number one was identity. So self-pity, here's the bottom line keys of what happens when self-pity develops, and where does the Yetzer Hara creep in the most. Number one is the flow of our energy becomes horizontal instead of vertical, right? The flow of our energy becomes between people or things instead of between us and Hashem. And number two, the spotlight of our mind is focused outward instead of inward, okay? To get out of self-pity, we want to ask ourselves these two questions. We want to say, number one, where is the most intense energy? And we want to turn that flow of power from things and people to Hashem. So number one question is, where's the flow of energy? Where's that force? Where's the vacuum cleaner? In which way is it pointing? Is it sucking me in, or is it absorbing energy from Hashem? Okay, where's the most intense energy? Where's the drama? We want to turn the flow of power from things and people instead of it being between us and people and things, We want the main flow of energy to be between us and Hashem. And number two is what's in that spotlight? What's in that spotlight? Is it other people, or is it my own feelings, my own thoughts, my own process of how I'm going to climb out of this self-pity that I'm in? Hey, me personally, whenever I find my mind, you're in a unpleasant situation, in a unpleasant circumstance, whatever it is, where my mind goes, and this is why I love this this woman's letter, because where my mind goes when an unpleasant situation would happen, in the situation that she's talking about with her father, who, let's say, gets angry, for example, and then can't hear what anyone else is saying, or gets into a mode of just talking and talking and talking for a long time only about himself, without asking anybody else what they think or what they like or what they're interested in hearing, right? If I would be in such a situation, where my mind would go is like, I would walk away, and I would be like, the spotlight in my mind instinctively would be pointing towards the other person, how unhealthy they are, what kind of business is that, how could they do that, it's so crazy, right? The spotlight in my mind would be on them. The way she wrote this letter is she already turned the spotlight inward. She's already thinking, okay, I don't really like this. This is making me feel small. This is making me feel insecure. This is making me feel alone, unprotected. I don't like it. What can I do about it? Do you hear the difference? When the spotlight is focused on the other person, people could be in therapy for years talking about all the problematic people in their lives and never be done. As long as the spotlight is on other people, we cannot experience change, because in that context, I am a victim of the other person's circumstances, of the other person's behavior. The Kutzker Rebbe had a famous vart. He said, which you're all familiar with it: if I am I because you are you. If my identity is because of your identity, right? If I am I because you are you, and you are you because I am I, then I am not I, and you are not you. And we can't have a relationship, right? Because I am I only because of you, and you're you only because of me. So it's one big enmeshed two people enmeshed with each other, geknipped and gebinden in 100 different ways, that just creates for inner turmoil and emotional distress. But he said the way to go forward is, I am I because I am I. You are you because you are you, and now we could have a relationship. Each person is their own person. And the way I see this is, if my behavior is a result of your behavior, and your behavior is a result of my behavior, then both of us are nothing but victims of circumstances, right? But we're not victims of circumstances. We're carriers of Hashem's light. And with that, each of us is empowered to choose. No ifs, no buts, no conditions, no dependency on other people. I have the ability this moment to show up however I want. So how do we get unstuck? Very nice. I noticed that the intense energy is by other people and instead of by being with Hashem. And I noticed that the spotlight is on other people instead of being inward in my own heart and looking for tools and noticing my feelings. So where do I go from here? So to get unstuck, there's a great tool. I call it the power tool. Power, P-O-W-E-R. P is for pause. Pause is the most important tool. Everyone tells me, once I already slam the brakes, or even just, whatever you feel those emotions creeping up on you, self-pity, anger, frustration, disappointment, resentment, whatever it is, you're losing it, so to speak, right? You're losing touch with your awesomeness. You're feeling ashamed. The most important thing to do is put your foot on the pedal and just pause. Literally pause, slow down. And many people, including yours truly, I had a very, very hard time slowing down. And what helped me learn how to slow down was every day, taking time proactively, consciously to slow down, just davening and thinking about the words that I was saying, or just proactively while I'm washing the dishes to ask myself, what's going on in your mind? To have that conversation with myself. What are you thinking about? How was your day? And not in a moment when you're feeling overwhelming emotions, because then it's so much harder. But learn how to slow down proactively. It's the most important skill. Now, a lot of people will say, I know this question has never doesn't come up. So people say, well, I'm already like, I only remember when I'm 3 feet into an argument with the person. Then I remember, oh, I'm getting lost. It's okay. Whenever you remember, it's never too late. Whenever you remember, press the pause button. As soon as you realize you're in a bad neighborhood, the first thing to do is stop. Stop. You want to gather your bearings and figure out how to get out of the bad neighborhood. The first thing you have to do is stop racing ahead into it. So practice slowing down and expect this to take time to practice. And don't give up if you slow down, if you only realize that you're supposed to slow down after you already yelled at the kids or after you got into an argument with somebody. It's okay. As you do this, you will the pause button will be pressed earlier and earlier and earlier in the game. Be'ezus Hashem. Keep practicing. Practice davening every day. First of all, that gives power to Hashem. That helps create that flow of energy. It helps create the consciousness of the truth that we are utterly dependent on nobody and nothing but Hashem Himself. It creates that sense of value and energy flowing between us and Hashem. So davening every day has that extra benefit and also gives us that ability to slow down. The world is so noisy. You're doing so many things. You have so much on your list. You're always thinking about what to do next and where you're coming, where you're going. And this one said that, and there's WhatsApps flying and emails and texts, and the phone is ringing and 100 different magazines, and you can't even get to read one page of each of them. You know, there's so much noise. Take time every day to quiet your mind by davening. That's number one. Practice doing that throughout the day by saying brachos. And in addition, outside of davening, every single day, learn how to slow down just by checking in with yourself. What's going on? What am I thinking? How am I feeling? These things will help you get better at the pause button. But that's the P. P is for pause. O is observe the self-pity or shame or helplessness or the resentment. Notice that it's there. We cannot put anything down before we pick it up. So pick it up, notice it, observe it, give it attention. We can't fight the Yetzer Hara. We can't pull off the mask before we see that there is a mask. So notice and I'm not saying all, when we talk about emotions coming from the Yetzer Hara, because the Yetzer Hara has such a negative connotation, it seems like so shameful in itself. Am I bad because I'm angry? Am I bad because I'm resentful? If these are coming from my Yetzer Hara, no, we're not bad. We're human. And we're gonna have these emotions. And they don't make us bad. They make us human. It's so important to notice them and observe them without any judgment whatsoever. Just observe. Observe that resentment. Observe that self-pity. Observe that weakness, that disempowerment, that shame creeping up into your heart. Number two, not W is, that was P. P is pause. O is observe the self-pity or shame or helplessness. W is welcome Hashem into the story. Consciously turn the flow of energy from Hashem to you and back. Consciously welcome Hashem to the story. That was W. And E is embrace Hashem's empowerment of you. Embrace your neshama, your dignity, your value. Consciously embrace it. Put yourself into it. Become aware of it. Plug into it in your mind. Visualize it. Get yourself grounded and centered in it. And R is resolve to engage from the place of your neshama. Okay, so just that all I'm talking about, we talked about it in a few minutes, but literally, once you get used to it, you can do that literally in a few seconds. Pause, take a deep breath, slow down. O, observe what's going on inside of you. W, welcome Hashem to the story, like turn that flow of energy between Hashem and you. E, embrace your dignity, embrace your true self, stand in the place of your true self, and now make that choice, make that resolution. R, resolve to stand in the place of your dignity, of your worthiness, of your awesome neshama. And now we're going to engage in this relationship, in this situation from that place of truth. Okay, now here's one more. We'll take this a drop further, and how do I engage from the place of our neshama? I want to engage from the place of my neshama. How do I do this? So I want to bring this to, I'm going to use this story. Now, I'm going to answer this person's question because I still didn't. Okay. What's happening before I go into how to engage from the place of your neshama? I want to use what we said before till now to answer her question. Okay. I'm feeling very insecure, very unsettled. I'm dealing with somebody who's so selfish and sucks the energy out of me, right? Takes up all the space in the room, leaves nothing for me. And I'm supposed to sit there and have that conversation when really there's so much that I want and there's so much that I need. Okay. So how do we do that? So in that situation, the power tool is always really a very good idea, because when you're engaged with a person, some people have very strong personalities and their energy sucks you in. I want to feel that the energy of my life is between me and Hashem. But when I'm around this person, they have so much energy. It really sucks me in. So what I have to do is keep coming back to my truth. Keep using that power tool. I'm going to forget who I am. I'm going to feel like this person is forcing me to be there, to do what they want me to do. But I want to keep coming back to my place of empowerment. And I do that by pausing every once in a while. Sometimes you have to excuse yourself from the room, but it can happen in your mind. Just pause, take a deep breath, feet on the ground. So you physically feel like you're grounding yourself, observe what's going on. Hey, I'm feeling like, little space here. Welcome Hashem to the story, embrace your dignity, and now resolve to re-engage from the place of Hashem's empowerment of you. Now, there's something else that a very big piece that I didn't address yet, it's not possible to do any of this without this piece. And for that, I want to first talk about it and then bring it back. Okay, when we talk about how to engage from the place of our neshama, I want to make one thing very, 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 very clear. When we talk about disempowering emotions, a lot of people make the very tragic mistake, and I call it tragic because it leads to so much heartache and so much confusion and so much shame, unnecessary shame. We make the mistake of thinking that pain is a choice. Pain is not a choice. Pain comes from Hashem. Pain is inevitable, okay? Pain is going to happen. We can't escape it. And we need to process it. We need to give ourselves space to deal with pain. So for example, in this story, for a person to do that without addressing the pain of having a parent who's supposed to be there for you and is not, and not only is not, but takes so much energy, emotional energy, is so emotionally needy and takes so much energy, it's very painful. Never mind the tools, it's very, very painful. And if we don't deal with the pain, it disempowers us. Pain that we don't deal with becomes misery. We need to deal with it so that we can release it from our bodies, release it from our systems, and then we can engage from that place of, where we want it, from the place of our neshama. But let's talk about what it looks like to engage from the place of our neshama, and then I'll come back to this question. How to engage from the place of your neshama? I put this into 3 things, the simplest thing ever. Number 1, remember we talked about in the beginning, part 1, we talked about how there are, how we have commentaries in our minds, all these ideas and beliefs and perceptions that might not even be true, right? Remember we said that they are contradicting they're contradictions of our dignity and awesomeness, our worthiness, and our unconditional respectability, right? Remember, we talked about having these beliefs and observing them and noticing them and calling it a lie and replacing it with the truth. So whenever you're in a situation, it's very important to separate the facts. The first thing is separate the facts from the commentaries. So let's say in this situation, the fact is this person is talking without let up. The fact is this person is angry and not giving me space to think, to speak. Or I want to read another example that somebody shared. My husband is very busy and does not have too much time at home. At times when he's finally sitting down with me or has some time, he's always looking what else he could be doing or contemplating where else he could be investing more money, earning more money. And of course, that leaves me feeling bad. It leaves me feeling ignored and alone. I thought it's a principle that everyone should spend time with their families, right? So she has this belief. When she asked herself, what is my belief? She said, my belief is that husbands should spend time with their families, right? So it's a principle that husbands should spend time with their families. But again, upon interest, so now she's questioning her belief. Is that a true belief? Because it's making me feel so sad and alone. So maybe my belief is not true because it's disempowering me. It makes me feel lonely or feel that he thinks I am boring. So what is the inner work on my part? So here, you hear where this person, first of all, again, like, what is the inner meaning? Like, where am I going with this? I love this because this person is not in dead end thinking anymore. This person has been clearly doing a lot of work. So she's not anymore thinking, I am stuck. This is how my husband is. I'm going to have a conversation with him. I'm going to tell him it's not okay. He has to change. This is, and she probably did have some of those conversations, but now she wants to know, where do I go with this? But one thing I want to point out about this story is, yeah, it's a belief that it's not a belief that husbands should spend time with their families. It's a value. Your husband should spend time with you. And that is not a lie. That is a valid desire. It's a beautiful quality. You want connection, you want love, you want a healthy, active, dynamic relationship. And very likely your husband wants it too. But his distraction and his desire to earn more money, which is so common in today's world, is getting in his way of actually taking this moment to connect. So in this story, without first of all validating, yeah, this is a valid desire, and it's not about a principle. It's about, oh my goodness, I am in pain. I want more time. I want more connection. I want more attention. I want to feel like I also matter. It's not just the money that matters, I matter. So from that place of pain, we can deal with the pain. We can decide pain is the birthing stone of all change. We'll take action and do something about it. So now with that, I want to go, as a good example, I want to go back to the story we were just, to the list, to the tool we were talking about. Separate the facts from the commentaries. So the fact is, my husband, I'm going to use her voice. My husband's not giving me attention. My husband is not spending any time with me. He's totally distracted. He's ignoring my presence. Even the 5 minutes that he sits with me, he's busy on his phone. Okay, so that's a fact. My commentary about it is, the unspoken commentary that I'm reading about this is, this is how he was, and this is how he will always be. That's a commentary to me, because we're not acknowledging the pain, right? But where is the pain coming from? The pain is not necessarily, of course, the facts are that the facts in itself are painful, but the commentary about it, like, okay, I'm stuck in this, because there was no question of like, how do I inspire change? It was more like, how do I change this principle, right? No, the principle is valid. And sometimes it's painful when our values, when our dreams are broken. And so what are we going to do with that? So separating the facts from commentaries is very important. The fact is, he is not spending time with me. My commentary about it is, this is how it will always be. Maybe I don't deserve it. Maybe this is only my principle. Maybe it's only my value. Maybe it's not his value. All that stuff is commentaries. So number one, separate the facts from your commentaries. Number two, deal with the commentary. I really believe that we first have to let go of the stuff that's all around in order to get to the core of what the real issue is. So first deal with the commentary, identify the diversion from Hashem's truth. In this case, I was smelling a sense of resigning to this reality. He doesn't give me attention and he never will. Like, this is how it is. It's I have to change my principle, but he's not ever going to change. So first we want to, from the perspective of Hashem's truth, every relationship has hope. And I happen to know that this person is young. She has her whole life ahead of her. You married only for a couple of years. Of course you could inspire change. Of course you could. Your husband is open to change. You're open to change. So the diversion from Hashem's truth in this example is like the possibility of change. Let's become allergic to dead end thinking. There is a possibility to change. Obviously, when someone's working on something for so many years and so many again and again and again, you might have to accept a reality that a person has a limitation, just like they have a broken bone. Maybe they have a blind spot. Maybe they have a area in their life where they really cannot yet change as of this moment, or within your possibility of what you can inspire change. So what? So where are you going to go from here? The relationship could still change even if that doesn't, even if that particular thing doesn't. I want to go back to here, identify the diversion from Hashem's truth, replace it. In this case, it would be, there is hope, there is possibility. I am going to do something about this, okay? And decide what action you can take to affirm the truth. Having a conversation is a very good thing, making a request. And we could talk about how to have a conversation in a way that comes from a place of dignity, and we could say our truth from a place of love and connection instead of from complaining and self-pity. Self-pity, when we talk from the place of self-pity, it's not attractive and it doesn't inspire other people. When my kid says, "You're so mean, you never give me a candy, could I have it?" It doesn't inspire me to want to give them the candy. You know what I mean? You're so mean, you never spend time with me. Really? Okay, so fine. So today won't be any different. I won't spend time with you either. It's not a way. Whenever we talk from the place of self-pity, or revulsion or resentment or anger or frustration, we're not really going to get what we want. And I'm not saying there's never a place for unleashing pure, undiluted, raw emotion. There is a place for that. I'm talking about, on a day-to-day situation, and specifically with this situation that's a recurring problem, a recurring challenge. Okay, so decide what action you can take to affirm the truth. And number 3, deal with the facts and with whatever is true about your commentary. Come back and deal with the facts. This situation is not how it's supposed to be. Okay, this situation is gonna change. Now, what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do about it? How am I going to move forward? How am I going to create change? And also, in every commentary, there's always a little kernel of truth. When we talk about, a lie, very often in that bundle of lies, there is a little bit of a kernel of truth. Very often that kernel of truth is pain. I wanted X, I got Y. I wanted love, I got rejection. I wanted support, I got loneliness. So very often within that within that lie, there is a kernel of truth, and we need to address that kernel of truth. And of course, in my effort to be simple, I want to now bring this back to real life examples. I'm going to share one more example, and then we'll go to questions that you have. So addressing your pain, identifying an action that you can take to improve the situation is part of dealing with the facts. We have to deal with the facts. And in this situation, the person would say, okay, this is painful. This is painful. I don't want to be ignored. Okay. At the same time, in order to have a meaningful conversation, she needs to move into a place of dignity, empowerment, and worthiness, and love, and compassion, and connection. And from there, say to her husband, at a quiet time, when there's a set time, we're going to be talking about something that's very important to me, to be able to say, look, I've been feeling lately like kids came along and you're so busy, and I really, really appreciate your commitment to earning money to support our family. every single every single time I swipe the card at the grocery store and I have money on that card to pay for the groceries, I am grateful. I say thank you Hashem, and I say thank you Tzvi. That's not her husband's name. I say I'm so grateful that you work so hard and it means so much to me. I'm just wondering, is there any way that we could spend a little bit more time together on a daily basis? Because I really I enjoy spending time with you so much. It would really mean so much to me if you can. It would make me so happy if we can just spend 10 minutes together without the phone, without any distraction, just to talk, just to touch base, just to share about how our day went. Okay, that conversation is going places with Hashem's help. I mean, that there's no kvetching, there's no blaming, there's no you never spend time, there's no negativity. It's just dignity, compassion, love, and connection. And from there, you can only go upwards. And I want to go back to that other story, the other situation of the woman who shared about her parent being so self-centered and difficult. We talked about the power tool, using it as often as you can. Pause, observe, welcome Hashem's presence into the story, embrace your dignity, and resolve to engage from that place. What that doesn't include is the pain of it. You have to give yourself space to talk about the pain, to process the pain, to let go of the shame around that difficulty. To have a friend who you can talk to, that it can support you through this, is just so helpful. And it could really make all the difference between, in other words, if you deal with the pain and you get support for deal with the pain and be kind to yourself when you're feeling that pain, you can then go back and use the power tool effectively. But without dealing with the pain, you're not in a position to use the power tool effectively. Okay, I'm going to go to the chat, and if anyone has questions, you're welcome to speak up while I look at what's going on the chat. That was a very good question. I want to repeat it. If I have pain and I don't have a friend who to share it with, and I want to call you out, you're saying because my friends are on a higher level than me and they don't do pain. That's not called a higher level, please. Every single person has pain in their lives. Either they're escaping it and avoiding it, or they're dealing with it. There's nobody in this world who doesn't have pain. So nobody, if they're not willing to talk about it, that does not make them on any quote unquote higher level. There's no such thing. Everybody has pain. Okay. So what do I do if I don't have those friends to talk to about it? I want to say that it would really be, yes, Hashem is your best friend, and it's good to be able to talk to Hashem. I really feel like it would be so helpful if you could find that friend. And the best way to find a friend is to be a friend to somebody. I want to put a plug out here for starting an Energized Living discussion group. It is the best thing that ever happened to me in my life, is having a group of friends, of women coming together to discuss the processes that we are working on, the tools that we're using, and how all these examples that I shared, all of this is nothing compared to what goes on when you sit around the table with 10 women of different backgrounds and different age groups, or like-minded, or they're 5 friends or 3 friends even. Sometimes it's even better when they're not friends, because they're strangers. You become sisters, and you don't have to, you're not inhibited so much when it is people that you know so well. Just being able to have that place where you come together and you talk about, I felt bad, and then I thought this, and I remembered that, and then I did this, just to be able to talk about how you did the process. How did I engage in my neshama? What lie did I let go of? How did I deal with my pain? How did I embrace my dignity? What did it look like when I invited and welcomed Hashem to the story? How did I use that power tool? How did it change my day? Having a group of people where you can talk about these things is amazing, and it's a gift that every single person could give ourselves. Start a group. Start with 1 person, start with 2 people, start with 3 people. Everybody is looking for something, and I've heard this from so many people. They were so surprised by how incredibly wonderful the group has been for them. Like again and again, I'm hearing from so many people, the group is such a good thing. And then within a group, if you're in a group of 10 people, with Hashem's help, you realize that you actually like one of the people, and then you become friends outside of the group. So a group is also, besides the value of the group itself, it's also a great place to meet other people. And I know that friendships have been formed even on this Zoom with people private messaging each other. You know, there's great there. We are an amazing group of women right here on this call, right in this network of learning and growing and doing these workshops. And there's so many friends. We can each be friends to each other. So be a friend and go for finding a friend. But until you do, if you can process with Hashem, you're really good, and that's a blessing in itself. But this is such a beautiful question. Thank you for bringing it up. I'm going to repeat it for the benefit of the recording. Someone is sharing that, you know, I know the tools. I know that I am the only person I could change. And yet I'm in a relationship with my mother is a very difficult person. And I know that I'm right. I know that she's wrong. I can't change her. But it's so hard for me to get past that and actually make the relationship better, because she is so negative and so difficult. And as she gets older, I don't want to be, you know, riddled with guilt for the rest of my life why I didn't make the relationship loving and beautiful, but it's really been so hard. What seems to be sometimes we make ourselves into a power. And I can relate to this in my own life. I thought that I could change. I really believe that if only I could explain it well enough, the other person will agree. I was once sitting with a couple, and at one point the husband turns to the wife and says, "If you don't agree, you don't understand." and I thought that was so arrogant, right? If you don't agree, you don't understand. There are certain truths that if you don't agree, you don't understand, because it's an objective truth, right? But many times it's okay to disagree, and it doesn't mean that we don't understand. But I used to think that if only I explain it well enough, then the other person will change, of course. And it took me a long time to get off that high horse where I believed I was the power to be able to change other people. To get off that high horse, it is so difficult. So I can relate to the difficulty. It's so painful, because to embrace a reality that's different from the desired reality is extremely, extremely painful. To be able to look at that, to look at ourselves and say, you know, this child of mine will always have this particular, you know, limitation. This husband, you know, I wanted him to be able to understand my emotions. He does not. So I could spend the rest of my life banging my head into the wall, or I could embrace the reality as it is and move forward from there. This mother, right, that, you know, she's so difficult. She's obnoxious. She complains a lot. She's so stubborn. She's not even a nice person. I wish she would just open her eyes to see how beautiful life could be if only she could just think differently and change her mindset, how much joy she could bring into our relationship. Why can't you? It's so hard to accept that we cannot change other people, not because we're selfish and not because we're egoistic, but because we love them and we want them to have the goodness that we have. And of course, we also we live in a world where it's so much pumped that we have the power. We have the power. We have the power of choice. We don't have the power of other people's choice. But the world makes it seem as if you're smarter, you could figure out a way to change other people. And you can get what you want out of any relationship. Actually, you can't. It's only Hashem who gives us what we want. So I want to suggest that even though it's very painful, that is the work, to embrace her as she is today and say, you know what? She's been this way for 70 years. God bless her soul. You know, I'm going to love her the way she is. And I'm going to let go of my desired version of reality, and I'm going to embrace reality as it is. And I want you to know that this is very difficult to do. You have to deal with the pain, you know, mourn the mother that you wanted and embrace the mother that you actually have. And I believe very, very strongly, because I've experienced this in my way, you know, not Baruch Hashem, not with my mother, with other people. And I know from so many people that have experienced this blessing in their lives and in their ways, when we accept the person and we let go of our desired version of reality and we embrace reality as it is, the peace that envelops our heart allows for new possibilities to flow. It allows us to be creative. It allows us to, and the other person from a place of love is much more likely to try new things and embrace new ideas and actually change. Nobody changes from being criticized or told. People change when they feel love enough. Love is so healing. So if you can, you know, mourn that desired version of reality, it's really, really hard. You wanted it so badly, and it's really hard. You wanted it very, very badly. Take good care of yourself, be nice to yourself, and embrace the reality that is, and love her. And try to find what it is that you love about her. Try to find one little thing that could be an opening for more love, for more connection, for more positivity to flourish within the relationship as it exists today. And this is not a contradiction to closing the door on the possibility of change. It just means standing with both feet in today's reality. And you know what? Tomorrow, Hashem might surprise you, creating the possibility. And you will feel so much better about yourself, about the relationship. And you might have to use some of the tools we were talking about, like with this other person, you know, getting back into yourself and replenishing yourself consciously, because you're going to be in a giving space when you're with her. So that's hard in a mother-daughter relationship. So you need to really constantly replenish yourself and take good care of yourself. But you can have a beautiful relationship. I trust that you can. I trust that you can do it, because just your tone of voice tells me that you have so much positive energy and so much love in your heart and so much joy. I am blown away by that beautiful, meaningful. I have no words. Wow. What is amazing about the story is that, you know, sometimes we have to reach that bottom, that rock bottom, to change, right? And I know you're the most loving, giving, generous person. You would never want to hurt anyone. Like, you would never want to do that to your mother. Never. Like, it's so, you know, but I think that in the place of victimhood, we will do anything to protect ourselves. And I would love for every person listening. I'm not repeating that story for the recording because it's so beautiful, it's so rich, and there was no way I can do justice. Maybe I'll just say it in one line. Somebody is sharing a very unhappy relationship with her mother. She said, I didn't have the mother that I wanted or that I needed. I had a whole different mother, and it was so hard for me. And we fought all the time. And I really, really felt hurt by her, until one day I decided to, like, I asked myself, do I want to be right, or do I want to have peace and connection? And that triggered a huge shift and a journey towards really showing up in that relationship from a giving place and looking for the good and finding the qualities. And it's amazing. I mean, you have to hear this person herself. Next time, listen to the live recording. You missed out on a good one. But seriously, you know, the love and the connection, that the contrast was so, indescribably, all like so big, indescribably so. Like the conscious from really, really not being okay with that person to finding so much love and meaning and connection and joy and delight in that relationship. And ultimately, you feel so much good about it. And if anybody is listening, I've heard that kind of story told with husbands, with adult children, with siblings, and with friends. The secret of getting unstuck in even this kind of relationship that is so stuck is getting out of victimhood, out of self-pity, out of I wanted it, I needed it, I'm so upset I don't have it, into a giving place, into a place of awesomeness, into a place of dignity and Hashem's empowerment of us, into a place of choice. And sometimes, I mean, this story is just so inspiring. I really just thank you so much for sharing it. Thank you. And really, that imagine that one little action, that one moment of awareness, that's really changed the trajectory of the rest of your life. It's unbelievable. That moment where I decided, where you decided, and I think we all have those moments. And if not, we have to create more of those moments where we make that choice to say, like, okay, I don't need to be right as much as I want to have peace. It's okay, you know, and I can embrace the reality as it is and make a choice to show up with love and connection and kindness and goodness and empowerment. It's unbelievable. Wow. Okay. Thank you, dear. Someone is sharing that since she started this work, she has so much more joy and positive energy in her life. And there's so many good changes in her life. But at the same time, when she's around other people who did not do any of this work, and they're constantly putting down other people in order to pick themselves up and like being so negative and just in the space that we all are in before we start doing this work, how do I approach such a person? Do I approach such a person? And how do I approach such a person to inspire them to also change? So I want to share that there's an expression in Yiddish. We say, Finsternis vertreibt man nicht mit der Stecken. Darkness is not chased away with a stick. It's a principle that is explained actually in Tanya. You cannot chase away darkness with a stick. You cannot change a person by telling them how wrong they are. You have to show them the light, turn on the light of their awareness. So I would rather, invite her to a group, invite her to, or just share a recording of a share that really touched you, of a Torah class or something, or a book that inspired you, or tell her about your own experience in a very, not in a way, let go of this desire that you're going to inspire her or change her. Just tell her, just like you would tell her, like you went to a good sale and you bought something and you're really enjoying it, you would have no problem. There wouldn't be so much, emotional angst around it. You would just say, I got this amazing, gadget in my kitchen and it's changing the way I cook and I'm loving it so much. I'll send you the link, try it, see if you like it. You know what I mean? Go from that way. I don't think we need to go into anything. I mean, I don't know the relationship, but a letter describing how the other person is wrong and where their life could go, I can't see it going anywhere. I can't see it going anywhere good. Conversation, sharing the light, sharing your positive experience could definitely be inspiring. And she might not be ready to change. It takes a lot of courage to change. It takes the Hashem will, you do your best and leave the rest to Hashem. And your best is inspire her, share your experiences, share the goodness, be a role model, be a light, be a force of goodness, be a nurturing voice in her head and in her life. And Hashem's help, she'll get there. And remember more than anything else that your awareness is a blessing from Hashem. Okay, my awareness is a blessing from Hashem. It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't make me a better person. It makes me blessed. So it's not a reason to look down, right? Just like someone else is rich with money, so you're rich in awareness. Okay, so doesn't make them better. It doesn't make you better. You're not better than them. Maybe you're more blessed in this way. So share the blessings. The only reason why Hashem gives us wealth is so that we'll share it with others. But thanks for sharing that. That was a very important question. So this was a conclusion of a really good series. With Hashem's help, we will be back. I know that we didn't answer all the questions. I feel like we kind of like opened a lot of cans, opened a lot of conversations, and don't let the conversation stop here. Keep it going. Discuss it with your friends. Make it a process. No change happens overnight. Nobody, they say Rome wasn't built in a day. It wasn't built in a few years either. Change doesn't happen overnight, but the minute you're on this path, the minute you recognize, hey, I'm getting stuck in self-pity, you're already in the sunshine. You're already in the light. You're already on the path forward. So believe in the possibility of change every day. There was this week is the first time I didn't put all the tools from the previous weeks because today's was so full and so different. But there's so many tools to practice. Try one little thing, make one little change in your life, and enjoy the goodness. Tamu ru'uki tov Hashem, taste and you will see that Hashem is good, and that your relationships can be good and gooder every day with more goodness. And we're approaching Elul. Elul is a time when we reinaugurate our relationship with Hashem. And there's no better time to start to introduce Elul and to walk into Elul than with really bringing peace and love and connection into the relationships that we have with each other, amongst all of us, sisters, brothers, children, mothers, friends, neighbors, even just amongst this group. Thank you so much for sharing all the love and for making this group possible, for making this happen. I really, really appreciate your being here. And I'll see you, Mir Hashem. I'm not sure exactly when, but we'll be back.